24 hours removed from WrestleMania, the Red Brand show is normally so special, it has its own hashtag. And with this being the first night of wrestling after the first night of wrestling in front of people in a year, it's gonna be special, right? Right? This is Raw After Mania Graded. Bobby Lashley arrives and is confronted by a playful Matt Riddle, who says, "Hey, I'd love a match with you." Bobby's like, "Nah, mate." Then Riddle reminds Bobby what he said back on Raw last month about how anyone can get a shot at the WWE champion. Basically, Riddle annoys Lashley to the point where he punches him in the face and says, "Yeah, all right, we'll have a match later on." And that is how we kick off Raw. Slightly different feel to Raw tonight. It's the brand new Thunderdome in the Ingling Centre. There seems like to be like a wider ramp, more screens around. It's a touch different. Certainly sounds different. Our commentary team are Corey Graves, Byron Saxton, and new boy Adnan Vink, who I won't talk too much about him during the show. Decent enough first night. Couple of crutches that will probably need to be shaken out. Kept referring to tag team moves as double trouble. Slightly irritating. And I know about saying irritating things, trust me. But otherwise, a decent enough showing for his first night. And we open with Bobby Lashley taking on Riddle. As Riddle's coming down on his scooter, Bobby doesn't wait, just clatters him. Beats him up all around the ring and gets him into the ring. Bobby is waiting for Riddle to get up, thinking the match will probably be over. Riddle puts the fists up like he's the Miz's dad and says, "I'm ready to fight." The ref lets the match go, and Bobby just batters him even further. Even takes a break from the beatdown at one point to throw Riddle's scooter into the crowd. Just before the break, Riddle gets press slammed over the barricade. During the break, he gets back in. A brief flurry of kicks from Riddle leads to an attempt at a floating bro, but Lashley moves out the way, locks in the hurt lock, gets the victory just like that. It's a C+. This is an exhibition for Lashley. It was fairly good, to be fair. Almost to the detriment of Riddle here. Like, I get that we want to make sure that Lashley is a dominant contender, but I think Riddle sort of being jobbed out in this sense was a bit of a waste, maybe? Not sure. But either way, the match was what it was. I'm giving it a C+. Rhea Ripley reveals that last night at WrestleMania was the beginning of the brutal new order for life. She prepares once again to show the world that she is very much ready for Asuka. They're having a rematch tonight here on Raw. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander are already in the ring for the next match, which is the kiss of death for any wrestler, formerly known as the Hurt Business. Shall we call them the Blurt Business from now on? Let's do that, since it's the last Raw Graded. From now on, we'll call them the Blurt Business. And they're taking on the returning Viking Raiders. No fanfare for their return, they're just back. I mean, Corey's excited, which is nice. You know, no story to bring them back, nothing like that. They're just in the ring fighting the Blurt Business. Eric and Ivar start well. Eric gets isolated and worn down by Shelton Benjamin. A big knee to Cedric leads to Ivar getting the hottest tag, wiping out everybody in the Blurt Business. Soon after this, Eric gets back in and they hit the Viking experience on Cedric for the 1, 2, 3. It's a C, decent enough. Short, sharp, whatever. I'm concerned for Shelton and Eric and Cedric here, getting lost in the shuffle of the tag teams. Viking Raiders looked great. I feel like it was a wasted opportunity just to bring them back. Where's AJ Styles and Omos? Could you not have had Viking Raiders size them up? That'd have been a bit more interesting than just, here's an exhibition match. Oh, they won. That's nice. Felt like a wasted opportunity. The return on Raw After Mania is Charlotte Flair. Yay! Charlotte is livid having not been at WrestleMania. In fact, I've got a transcript of what she said here. She says, "You won, Rhea. I hope it makes you happy. Dear Lord, what a sad little life. You ruined my night completely. I hope you get some lessons in grace and decorum, because you have all the grace of a reversing dump truck without any tyres on." She didn't say that. That's quoted from Come Dine With Me, but pretty much what she said. She just whinged a lot. She says, "I don't steal opportunities, I am the opportunity." She says she'll no longer be little humble Charlotte. Were you ever little humble Charlotte? Oh yeah, that shy wallflower Charlotte Flair who turned up on a helicopter at WrestleMania. Anyway, she tells us to enjoy the women's match. drops the mic and leaves. It's a D+. I'm sorry. I didn't miss Charlotte at WrestleMania. I'm sorry. Like, excellent wrestler, really good wrestler. I'm not going to get into the debate of she's pushed down people's throats and all this stuff. I just didn't miss her. I didn't. Were we meant to? Was it meant to be a big thing like Charlotte missed her? And certainly on commentary with some beautifully pre-prepared lines that Adnan was giving us about how brilliant Charlotte is. I feel like we were meant to get the vibe that she was meant to be a big miss from WrestleMania. I didn't miss her. Thought she was a whinge bag here. And no doubt she's getting involved in the title picture sooner rather than later. But we'll talk about that in a minute. And talking of the title picture, the match next is Rhea Ripley defending her Raw Women's Championship against Asuka. It's a rematch from WrestleMania last night. Ripley manhandling Asuka to get us underway. A break by Asuka leads to getting caught coming off the top rope and trapped in the prism trap, so shut down fairly soon on. They bugger up a lifting spot quite badly, but they give it another go and they kind of sort of get it right. This is not the cleanest of affairs between these two, especially after what we saw last night. Asuka lands a DDT off the apron once again, but before she can capitalise on it, Charlotte returns and pushes Asuka into the steel steps, gives Rhea Ripley a big boot, and suplexes Asuka onto the floor outside. Does this crying motion because she ruined the night, and then takes her leave. It's a C+ for all of this. This was not a patch on the match that they had last night at WrestleMania. They had a really strong one last night. This felt a little bit weak. This had a finish that inserts Charlotte Flair into the mix. Now, this will lead to Charlotte becoming the Raw Women's Champion again. She's going to beat Ripley. And that's just a fact, you know? That's happening because when you have a button that just says boo, you can't tell whether people are going, boo, I don't like you, boo, or boo, I'm not interested in you, boo. The button just says boo. We're getting Charlotte beating Ripley. I shan't be on Raw to watch it, but we're getting Charlotte versus Ripley, and Charlotte's beating Ripley, isn't she? Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax are backstage watching Mandy fall over from WrestleMania. Shayna Baszler leaves halfway through, leaving Nia Jax all alone as Mandy and Dana Brooke confront her about laughing at the clip. Mandy slaps her in the face. Dana appears and they both charge her into the corner. Later on, we find out that there's a match happening between those two later on. Non-title, I do believe. So there's something there, and we'll talk about that match when we get to it. We certainly will. Alexa's Playground up next. Alexa explains what happened at WrestleMania last night, saying that whilst The Fiend very much saved her when she was lost, in his absence, she's basically become powerful in her own right, and now she's doing her own thing. And she wants to introduce the world to Lilith, and the fun is just beginning. Now, Lilith is a puppet that looks like, and this is an obscure reference, you play Jackbox TV while you've had downtime, yeah? You play Trivia Murder Party. It's like, oh, you've lost a round. You'll cut off one of your fingers. That one, right? It looks like a character from Jackbox TV's Trivia Murder Party. It is a very obscure reference, and if you get it, it's 10 points to Gryffindor. At the end of this, we cut to a shot of Lily staring at the camera, and then she bites. She goes, nyang, giving us a little jump scare that even Markiplier might have somewhat reacted to. So there we go, nice little combo there. Great promo by Alexa Bliss, by the way. Alexa Bliss is a class unto herself in this entire storyline, and I can't help but feel we're building to Alexa Bliss versus The Fiend. All right. Okay, I'll subscribe to this newsletter. Be that as it may, I thought the result of WrestleMania was very disappointing. As we have discovered over the last couple of hours, that wasn't meant to be what went down. Find out more about that in the news video on the Cultaholic YouTube channel right now. Adam Pacitti hosts it. Bless him. Miz TV with special guest Maurice. She's there to promote the new series of Miz and Mrs., which starts after Raw. They have some bants. Miz takes credit for Bad Bunny being brilliant at the wrestling. Damian Priest comes out to say, hey, you shouldn't take credit. That was all Bad Bunny. This leads to Miz wanting a match against Damian Priest. Morrison wants a match with Damian Priest. Maurice says, why don't you both have a match with Damian Priest? To which Damian Priest says, why don't you both have a match with Damian Priest? Except let's have that match with Damian Priest right now whilst you're in your nice clothes. So that's what they do. We come back from break. It's Miz and Morrison versus Damian Priest. Priest gives them both a shoe-in for a long old time. Miz and Morrison take a little bit of time out outside the ring, and Priest hits a somersault dive, which looks very, very nice. Priest goes for the hit the lights on Miz, but Maurice pulls Miz to safety. Priest strips Miz when he's back in the ring down to his undercrackers, and Maurice distracts the referee. Miz gets a cheap roll up for the 3, and as they're all heading up the ramp celebrating, Maurice is trying to I think she's trying to help Miz get his trousers off, because his trousers are around his ankles. They end up both slipping over as the show is fading out. So that was a fun little bit. What a laugh we had. It's C+. It was good, but putting Priest over, which was nice, with some big moves. Cheap, lazy finish. It was all right. It wasn't great. It was good. It was good. Dandy take on Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Now this is peak comedy, right? Get this, right? You know how earlier, I can't even get it out. It's so funny. You know how earlier Nia Jax was laughing at Mandy falling over? Well, you won't believe it. Nia Jax fell over on the way in the ring. What fun. This match was just very by the numbers. Very early on, we see Dana put in a stretch muffler by Shayna Baszler and used as a pendulum. That was literally the best part of this match. Everything else was just there. Hot tag. Mandy goes wild. She gets dropped out of the ring whilst trying to fight out of a clutch. Nia Jax is outside the ring saying, "Hey, you were laughing at me earlier." She puts her back into the ring, and you won't... Cop. You won't believe this, right? You won't believe this. So what happens is, as Nia Jax is getting into the ring... she slips over. It's because she was laughing earlier at Mandy falling over, and she slipped over twice. What fun. This ends up with Nia and outside the ring, very angry. She gets back into the ring. Dana and Mandy decide they do not want to face a very cross, very clumsy Nia Jax, and head off up the ramp, accepting a count-out defeat. Because, heaven forfend, they have to face the clumsy Nia Jax. The irresistible klutz Nia Jax. This was an F. Rubbish. Rubbish match. Rubbish storyline. Rubbish finish. I can't... The almighty address is up next. MVP puts over Iron Drew as one of the toughest on the planet, but says there's no problem with being number 2 when Bobby Lashley is number 1. This brings out Drew, who says it was going to come down to whoever made the first mistake at Mania, and he did, by allowing MVP to distract him. He wants another piece of Bobby Lashley. In fact, he wants MVP to shine Bobby as much as he can, get him high rolling, get his head so big that the pedestal he falls off is really, really high, which is a nice little bit of dialogue from Drew. This brings out Braun Strowman, everyone's favourite monstrous train conductor, who turns around and says, "Hey, get to the back of the queue. I gave Shane McMahon some hands at Mania, so it's my go at Big Bob." This brings out Randy Orton, who vanquished The Fiend after WrestleMania, because I admire the confidence of Randy Orton, who set The Fiend on fire and didn't vanquish him, but is so confident that one RKO will do it that, yeah, that's fine, I can now move on with my career. Randy wants the WWE title back. So Adam Pearce makes a main event for tonight, a triple threat. It's Bobby Lashley's WWE Championship opponent being decided between Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, and Randall Keith. Randall Keith. B- here, some good words said by some good people. Simple, effective setup. A little bit on the lazy side, a little bit on the half-hearted side to get our main event for WrestleMania Backlash. Whoa, WrestleMania Backlash doesn't scan. A bit half-hearted to get there, but I guess that's how we're getting there. Up next, the New Day in action against Elias and Jaxson Ryker. Elias is about to give a song dedicated to Shane McMahon, but is interrupted by trombone noises. Here comes Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, who are mocking Elias and Ryker for letting one man batter them at WrestleMania, laughing about if that was them, they wouldn't want to show their faces. And because subtlety is just a word where the letter B hides in the WWE, Elias and Jaxson Ryker say, "Hey, you can talk because that's what happened to you." That's kind of the point. Subtlety really is just a word where the letter B hides, isn't it? That's all it is in this company. Anyway, this leads to Woods and Kingston saying, hey, you embarrass the tag division, we'll beat you tonight because New Day rocks, etc. Some great tag moves from Elias and Ryker in this. Actually, they're meshing quite well as a team, which is lovely to see. But we see Woods get isolated for a good long while in this. Gets a break in play, hot tag to Kingston. Kingston runs wild. The end comes with Ryker getting dropped, and then Elias getting daybreak for the 1, 2, 3. New Day win the match. C+, good. Not great. Ryker and Elias had some good combos. Time for the Firefly Funhouse. Bray Wyatt is back in the Funhouse with all his friends except Alexa Bliss. And Abby has some nasty things to say about Bliss, even swearing and getting it bleeped out, which is quite fun. Wyatt feels great, though. He feels reborn. And he's going to stop clout chasing. He says that he and the Funhouse are going to be big and strong once more. He has it has a lot of Ross I'm fine about it, which is quite a nice touch. I think the issue we have with a character as beautifully nuanced as Bray Wyatt and The Fiend is that it works well in a controlled linear storyline with an equilibrium, a disruption, a recognition, a reparation, and a new equilibrium, if we're going to follow Torodov's narrative theory, which we are. But here's the thing. This is wrestling, and they just kind of make it up as they go along. So they keep adding bits on, and they keep having to sort of retrofit the story to make it fit the overarching bit. And I think that damages The Fiend over time, and that damages Bray Wyatt over time. Like, if we had like a definitive beginning, middle, and end to The Fiend, it'd be fine. But because we work with things such as, like Vince going, the crowd love The Fiend, let's make him a good guy, or I want to stretch this feud out longer, have Bray Wyatt lose. You then have, instead of having The Fiend as a very concise, controlled series like the UK Office, which was 2 seasons and a Christmas special done. Instead, you turn The Fiend into Lost, which was like 17 seasons. They kept adding on to it. They confused themselves. And now then they just kind of had to end it some way, shape or form. That's kind of where we're at, which is a bit concerning with Bray Wyatt. Main event o'clock, top contenders match. Winner goes on to WrestleMania Backlash to face Bobby Lashley for the WWE title. It's Drew McIntyre versus Braun Strowman versus Randy Orton. Before the last break, Braun's train attack is stopped by the steel stairs from Drew. Orton follows this up with a backdrop onto Drew, onto the announce table. Drew and Orton keep finding each other in this match. We have some nice exchanges between these two, and then Braun keeps charging in to get some hands. Braun beats up both men with steel steps. Now, have the steel steps been downgraded as a weapon? Because I felt like everybody got hit with steel steps and just kind of were all right with it. Orton got clattered with steel steps, and about 2 minutes later, he was delivering a draping DDT to Braun Strowman and getting ready for the RKO. And then he hit the RKO. Looks like he's going to get the pin. Puts the pin over on Braun. At the 2 count, here comes Drew with a Claymore. 1, 2, 3. Drew pins Orton, and Drew is off to WrestleMania Backlash to face Bobby Lashley. MVP comes out at the end of the night. Looks like maybe Bobby's going to come and get a piece, but no. Here's T-Bar and Mace to give high justice to Drew McIntyre and stand on the ramp looking menacing. Has MVP signed a deal with Retribution? Why not? Why not? It's a B-. This was the best part of the show, which isn't saying a whole lot. A sudden and strong finish. If T-Bar and Mace have joined the Hurt Business, at least repackage them. Give them something that vaguely resembles their old gimmicks back. Put them in suits. That'd be smashing. Overall, Raw After Mania is a D. This was a pretty disappointing show on the whole. For a show that prides itself on being sort of feeling big and feeling bold, this really lacked a lot of shine, this show. Especially for the Raw After Mania as well. Take away, right, if you take away those slideshows where they had photos from Mania, you wouldn't have really known that this was the Raw After Mania, which was a shame. Like, it didn't have that big feel. I'm not saying you need to pack it with big debuts and big returns. At least give us something. You know, we had returns with zero fanfare. We had half-hearted approaches to booking for the next pay-per-view. It just lacked a lot. And you know what? I'm actually... sounds really weird, but in a way I'm quite relieved that this went down the way it did. Like, this is the last Raw graded. And it actually justifies why I'm quite happy to move on to other projects. I know that there's some people who are gutted and I've had messages asking me to please carry on doing Raw Graded, but as we've discussed, unfortunately the YouTube algorithm is not playing ball with Graded or WTF moments, so we at Cultaholic, in order to keep doing what we love, we're mixing things up a little bit. And we are going to be bringing you some really cool, exciting, bespoke new content very, very soon. And, as I said the other month, we are working on a special live review show, which will replace this when we can all be together. So, all is fine, but we are saying farewell to Graded from today. I want to say thank you to you for continuing to watch Graded. If you are one of those that defied the algorithm to come and see this, I thank you. I also want to say a massive thank you to Andrew, who has for the last several months taken the helm of editing Raw Graded, where I'll send him stupid things to put into the video. For example, if I was to say, Andrew, can you make balloons appear everywhere? Excellent. Andrew, can you put a picture on of Braun Strowman standing on a dog? Thank you, mate. Andrew, put a picture of yourself in the corner. Go on. There you go. There he is. He does Twitch streams on a Monday night. He is genuinely one of the most lovely souls I've ever met. And he is one of the funniest buggers on a Monday night. Twitch.tv/Cultaholic. If anything comes from doing Raw Graded, it gives Andrew more time to be Andrew, because he's wasted just having to edit my garbage. He is wasted doing that. He's a genuine light in a storm. And if you could support Andrew, follow him on Twitter. Can you put your Twitter handle up, Andrew? Nice one, mate. Follow Andrew on Twitter. Give him lots of love. And you know what? Look after yourselves as well. It's been a wild 12 months. Nice. It was so good to see crowds back at the wrestling. It's a shame that we are back where we are at Raw, with it being a bit naff. But hey, we ain't going to watch it as intensely as we have been anymore. So I'm all right with that. By this being the worst Raw after Mania, for me personally, it's the best Raw after Mania, because it completely justifies why we're binning it off. Thank you for supporting Cultaholic. Exciting new content coming very, very soon. Stay safe. Love you, bye.